Hi everyone, today I want to talk about something that we have some experience with, and it has been an area that has driven so much innovation around the world: digital storytelling. Today's class is an introductory overview of the main themes in the digital storytelling course. My lecture is focused on the influence of visual storytelling, and I'll show you some examples of powerful visual stories. I'll also explain some rules of storytelling that can increase audience engagement with your work and make it stand apart from other visual stories. As you know, digital storytelling uses different tools and applications. I'll briefly review some of these applications that you can use to bring your story to life. Finally, I talk about how artificial intelligence and smart technologies are being used to construct a story and are co-creating visual narratives. We need stories. We need stories to understand ourselves, others, and our world. For thousands of years, storytelling has been an essential part of our humanity. The term storytelling means to share a moral value or a story with a clear plot, characters, and a narrative point of view. One of the purposes of storytelling is to connect us and improve our communication with each other. Visual storytelling is the art of using visual content such as pictures, videos, illustrations, and can be enhanced with graphic, music, voice, and other audio to communicate an effective story. There are different reasons for why visuals are influential. For example, Ekaterina Walter and Jessica Giulio, who published a book about storytelling, explained that the human brain processes visual content 60,000 times faster than text. And viewers spend 100% more time on web pages with videos. So if you use TikTok or watch Reels on Instagram, you know how easy it is to spend time on these platforms and jump from one video to another. So visual content is really appealing. Photographers, as storytellers, have made important social changes by creating visual stories. For example, in 1911, Louis Hines, who was an American photographer, was hired by the National Child Labor Committee to record child labor, and he photographed children working under extremely poor conditions in factories, mines, and fields, and he produced shocking pictures. His goal was to open the public eyes to the unequal nature of children's employment and to help ignite legislative change to end these abusive practices. The impact of these photographs on social reform was immediate and helped convince officials to create and enforce laws against child labor, such as the Fair Labor Standards Act of 1938 that eventually brought child labor in the US to an end. So Hines used his camera as an influential tool and generated a powerful visual story that was instrumental in changing children's conditions in the United States. So now the question is how we can develop an appealing story step by step. First, we need to brainstorm what we want our digital story to be about. We should research our topic and gather accurate information about it first. Then we need to collect or create a visual content such as images or video clips to illustrate our narrative. The next step is to create a short script or a storyboard. A storyboard is simply a place to plan out a visual story on two levels. The first level is time, what happens in what order, and the second level is interaction. How does the voiceover or music works with the image or video? When you're developing your story, you can follow some rules of visual storytelling to construct an impressive narrative. I'll explain some of these rules now. Be relevant. Keep in mind what is important for your audience and use powerful and related visuals to tell your story. First impressions are everything. In today's digital world, the first impression must also be a quick impression. If our audience get bored in the first few seconds of viewing our work, they'll just move on. So when crafting a visual story, we should invest in the first thing that our audience sees. Great stories are simple. As creators, we naturally want to include lots of information in our stories, and we might not realize that we are adding layers that don't need to be there. So we need to simplify our story. Every story must have an emotional and a narrative arc. The emotional arc is also called the shape of the story. It is a series of emotional ups and downs that hook the audience until the end, like a roller coaster ride. So we must make our story move. The best stories flow smoothly from beginning to middle to end. The beginning tells the promise of our story, the middle outlines conflicts along the way, and the end is the destination, revealing a small discovery or insight. Finally, as storytellers, we need to specify our purpose. And to do that, we need to ask ourselves, why must we tell this story? Having a clear purpose is the heart of an impactful storytelling. A great example that employs this storytelling rule successfully is a film called WALL-E that was produced by Pixar. WALL-E is the story of a robot left alone on Earth for 700 years while the entire human race escapes to the space. The film offers important messages about connection, loneliness, and unconditional love. And what is important about this movie is that the arc of the story is well developed and engaging, that although for the first 20 minutes of the movie there is basically no spoken dialogue, we still can follow the story and what it communicates. We can apply these storytelling rules to improve the structure of our narrative. But to address and confront sensitive and critical issues such as racism, sexism, or homophobia, we need to educate ourselves first about the topic and then create a story that generates productive questions and discussions about the issue. I'll now show you another example of an influential visual story. This project is called Reconstructing 7 Days of Protest in Minneapolis After George Floyd's Death, which is the winner of the Digital Story Contest in the World Press Photo in 2021. This project provides a full picture of the first week of protests in Minneapolis after the killing of George Floyd by a police officer. An extraordinary use of user-generated content which combines and maps out 147 live stream videos. This project presents an overview of the protest and acts as an archive of a time of international attention on issues of race, police brutality, and social justice. As you saw in the George Floyd project, you have a unique power to plan and visually address issues of racism or inequality and educate your audience with informative visual content. The next step to create your story is to choose the right tool and application. There are many applications and techniques and tools available to produce your story. For example, you can use Adobe XD, InVision, Glagster, Pixton, Sketch, or Unity, and the list goes on. There are plenty of tools online available, and choosing the right one is not really easy. But I suggest that you pick a program that is cell phone friendly, enables you to share your project with others, and mixes multiple mediums. For example, Adobe XD works with other creative cloud apps and allows collaboration through design process and enables your team members to view your work and leave feedback. If you're interested in creating an interactive multimedia poster, you can use Glagster, which is a web-based program, and users can easily create posters by combining images, audio, video, and text on one digital canvas. If you're passionate about telling your story through making your comic strips, you can use Pixten, which is a website that provides a large library of backgrounds and characters that can be customized to fit your storyline. So these apps and websites are popular for producing digital stories now. But what will the future of storytelling look like? Now, in many ways, tools such as artificial intelligence and smart technologies are changing how we tell stories. Algorithms and bots are already collaborating and constructing narratives, creating pictures, and they are becoming storytelling assistants. For example, the Massachusetts Institute of Technology Media Lab recently investigated the potential for machine-human collaboration in video storytelling. Recent language models like the GPT-3, developed by machine learning researchers, offers a glimpse into AI storytelling. GPT-3 uses deep learning to produce human-like text and has been trained on a wide array of sources such as thousands of books. Although GPT-3 can mimic human written text, sometimes the results are humorous or incoherent pieces of writing that may describe what a storytelling will look like in the near future. Challenging, experimental, and open to interpretation. Another example is Charisma, an interactive storytelling platform that enables creators to build a mysterious conversational experiences with a unique combination of innovative storytelling techniques and advanced AI. This video is an example that is generated by using Charisma, and it is the product of a collaboration with Oxford University with a goal to make Shakespeare more accessible to children. Charisma's theme worked with Oxford University English students to adapt scenes from Romeo and Juliet and Macbeth to bring this project to life. In addition, researchers have developed machine learning models that rely on deep neural networks to watch small slices of videos and movies and estimate their positive or negative emotional content by the second. Think about this for a moment. Machines can view an untagged video and create an emotional arc for the story based on all of its audio and visual elements. This is something that we have never seen before. As the storytellers realize the importance of AI and as these tools become more available, we could see a major change in the way digital stories are created. While AI is still not ready to write a bestseller yet, it is a powerful tool that can assist creators in generating their stories. In the future, we won't just consume stories by watching a video or tuning into a podcast. The new types of stories are moving us into something more physically interactive and more multisensory. Although machines are becoming useful in digital media production, the main goal is not to have AI make art or music or write stories. The objective is to figure out how the technology can be used for creative purposes. So I've explained the fundamental elements of a strong visual story, different applications that we can use to make our story, and also what the future of storytelling will look like with AI. And during this semester, I'll elaborate more on each of these topics. So now, before finishing this lecture, I would like to ask for your participation in a quick activity. I'll now show you a picture and then give you 3 possible stories for this image, and you'll guess which story is the real story of this photograph. So take your time and try to guess what is happening in this image. Okay, let's look at the stories. Story number one: the members of the Royal Thai Armed Forces in Thailand are training. Story number two: high school seniors preparing to join the military crawl out in sand dunes during an exercise. Story number three: runners are climbing hill without using hands feet for a charity event. Okay, let's see which story is the real story of this image. Story number two: high school seniors preparing to join the military crawl out in sand dunes during an exercise. Probably some of you didn't guess the real story correctly, which is totally fine. This practice shows that we can interpret visual stories differently, and this is the beauty of art. Storytelling is a gateway to our imagination. I would like to finish my lecture with a quote from Salman Rushdie, a writer and a storyteller whose metaphorical novels examine historical and philosophical issues. He says, I always thought storytelling was like juggling. You keep a lot of different tails in the air and juggle them up and down, and if you're good, you don't drop any. I hope you enjoyed this class, and thank you very much for listening to me.